we're going to be talking about two very powerful concepts, and I'll throw a third one in just to make this really good: side hustles. I'm not sure if you've been told that you need one, or if you heard that term before, or if it sounded like something that was urban legend or a myth. But in reality, the majority of people in America are in need, according to the statistics, of having some form of side hustle. And the reason for that is definitely economic. But what they're finding is that people that are working traditional jobs just do not have enough income to make ends meet. Literally, if you drive through America and just pick any middle class neighborhood, if you just go driving through the neighborhoods where you see green grass and nicely manicured lawns, occasionally throughout that drive, you're going to see homes with nicer than average vehicles, nicer than average upgrades and landscaping and things of that nature. And I would submit to you, based on the research that I've been looking at just over the course of this week, the majority of those people are actually business owners. So, what is it that is allowing business owners to achieve a level of success that the regular working class are not able to achieve? In reality, if you're working and the only income that you have is directly related to your employment, then your options are always going to be limited to the number of hours you are able to exchange for dollars. So that is problematic in and of itself. Wealthy people, as a general rule, do not trade hours for dollars. The reason is they found ways around that. But before we get into it, I want to first talk about a simple concept, which is $1 million. Most people think $1 million is a lot of money. And, rightfully so, under normal circumstances, if all things being equal, a person hands you $1 million, or if you inherit $1 million, or if you happen to even win $1 million, that may look like something. But I want you to imagine this: the average person in America with $1 million in savings is 59.4 years old. The reason that's important is we're talking on this podcast specifically to those that have more years behind us than ahead of us, but it's important to recognize who actually has the greatest amount of economic clout in this country. In the United States, if you're about 59 and a half, you are more likely than not one of those individuals that has the higher savings. Why is that important? Actually, in America, the average person in all of America, if you put all of the people together, the average amount of money that most individuals across the board have saved is somewhere in the neighborhood of 7,500 to $10,000. That's the national average. However, there are those that have been able to accumulate $1 million. Maybe they were able to work a job 40 years and put in 40 hours, and they systematically save through their 401k. And I really want to talk about that because the way we were trained when all of us grew up, we were taught that if you had $1 million in savings, that you actually were doing pretty well. But I want to open your mind to a different concept today, and I'm going to start with this graph. This is actually $1 million right here. This graph that you see, this is $1 million in savings. And I want you to imagine, because I have an example here in this graph, $1 million saved in a traditional 401k, compounding at 5% annually, deducting $100,000 for living expenses and taxes. Now, you're asking me, what is that about? Well, I wanted to look at this person who's 59 years old right here. And this individual who's 59 years old has $1 million in savings, but something unfortunate happens, be it a car accident, an on the job injury, a slip and fall. These days, people slip and fall and never recover. But if that were to happen, this 59-year-old still has annual living expenses of $100,000. So they need to get money out of this retirement account so that they can live. Once you take out taxes with that deduction, it amounts to approximately $1,155 per week. The problem with the $1,155 per week is that this person would be paying out of that money their mortgage, they would be paying for gas, they would be paying for utilities, they would be paying for food, they would be paying for household expenses, and literally this 100,000 is adversely impacting the million. So as we imagine in this case this person becomes injured at 59, it's proven by the time they're in their sick well at 60 that they're actually disabled, and now they have to apply for social security disability, which is a 2-year process. So during this application period, typically social security denies the first time and they need to apply another year. So as you now see, we're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years in to pulling $100,000 from our $1 million that's only growing at 5%. And as you see in this chart, by year 5, we're down to $400,000. By year 6, we're down to just over $200,000. And as you see, year 7 and 8, we are officially upside down. Now, why is that important? $1 million is not what most people think. $1 million sounds like a lot of money. That is not a lot of money in today's economy. Actually, the greatest asset that you actually have is your ability, your physical ability to generate wealth. It is not your savings that's your greatest asset, it's the ability to generate wealth. And why is that important? Well, when we start looking at the concept called a side hustle, I want you to take a look at this picture. This is Robert Kiyosaki's cash flow quadrant. And in this cash flow quadrant, it's basically showing you that the average person in America typically is an employee. And I was able to take some time and really dissect this part. And what I found is the average employee in America is age 20 to 40. This is the time period where we're usually content with being in the upper left hand side of this quadrant where we're working for someone else. The average self employed person in America is age 40 to 50 years old. And this is after working for someone else for an extended period of time, as you see in this illustration. So, obviously, an employee means someone is telling you what time you have to be at work, what time you leave, whether or not you get a raise, or whether or not you can have this position or that position. But please know, as a traditional employee in this upper left hand quadrant, this quadrant is going to dictate everything about your life, what you eat, where you live, where you can travel, or if you can travel. Once you get to the self employed area, you actually own a business, and really, because it's still small, you own a job, as you see here. This is typically age 40 to 50 years old. By the time a person is 50 to 60 years old, at this point, a person is now saying, I want to start developing systems, business systems that work for me. And that's where we all find ourselves today in this upper right hand quadrant. And the average investor in America today that has significant assets is age 60 to 85. Why is this important? I shared with you in our last episode the simple fact that of all the wealth in the country today, 80% of all wealth is held in the hands of individuals that are over the age of 60. Now, the reason that's important is we've got some serious decisions to make. And when I say decisions, we have to decide whether or not a side hustle actually makes sense. So I'm going to share that concept that we talked about a little earlier, which was a person withdrawing $1,000 per week from their retirement account and literally exhausting $1 million over 8 years. If you think about it, coming up with a concept, something that you can sell, because we're in a capitalist country in America, the free enterprise, the this is a consumer driven country, which basically means if you have something to offer the market, you have to find a way to sell that. And that is a way to actually create additional revenue. Why is this so important? Getting into business is a amazing strategy for extraordinary transformation. Remember, we're on a journey of 365 days. We're in week 4 of 52 weeks of actually strategically changing the way that we think so that ultimately our economy, our life, our legacy are all improved. And that is what this is about. So I need you to think about business ownership. As a business, you're able to deduct things from your taxes that you cannot deduct as an employee. As an employee, you cannot deduct your, for example, your cell phone use. You can't deduct your internet use. You can't deduct, well, the reason you can't deduct anything is there are no deductions. It's usually a one-page form. It's very simple. But once you decide to come into a side hustle, a part-time business. Some people call them side gigs in certain cultures. But I looked on Chat GPT and it said um, uh, side hustle has now become mainstream media type communication. Everyone knows what that means. So therefore, what we all need to do, especially being the age that we are, is put away our reservations. In the past, when everything was great, when inflation was low, cost of living was low, everything seemed to be working out well. We could kind of poo poo certain ideas like getting involved in businesses, becoming a distributor of any type of product, good, or service. All of that seemed very childish. I would submit to you that one of the key strategies for being able to live your best life once you've reached this point over the age of 44, where you have more years behind you than you have ahead of you, I would submit that this is the perfect time to explore. Just take a look and see what meets your fancy. See what it is that gets you excited, but find something that you can get involved in to create that ongoing cash flow. The cash flow is going to be key. So if you think about it, regardless of whether or not you have a business, you always have to buy gas or you always have to pay an electric bill. Wouldn't it be great to have something that you're involved in that on a consistent weekly or monthly basis put more capital in your hand? Wouldn't that give you more options? In the old days, we used to talk a lot about optimists and pessimists. We used to talk about, oh, this guy's just such a dreamer. He's just such an optimist. The question is, what's wrong with that? You know, the difference between an optimist and a pessimist, which is why we have to change the way that we think, a pessimist sees everything from a negative standpoint. When when the clouds come out and the sky is a little different, the pessimist never says it's partly sunny. The pessimist says it's really cloudy. The pessimist is the one that says, the optimist says, this tastes pretty good. The pessimist says, it's not, I've had better. I've had better. Pessimists have a way, no matter what you present to a pessimist, the pessimist, because of their nature, it's what's inside of them, it's what they fuel their lives with, looking for the negative, looking for the problem. The pessimist is the person that you present an idea to, and they literally will take an inordinate amount of time to create 102 different reasons why that won't work for them versus thinking of one possible reason why it just could. What is the value in minimizing your potential? That's really what pessimism does. It minimizes your potential. I'm so thankful that once upon a time I was introduced to the concept of business. And I began to realize something. Only in America There's no other country in the world that you can start here and actually achieve there. There is no limit to what you can do in this country. Regardless of the news, regardless of inflation, regardless of tariffs, import issues, none of that matters. Remember, we are still the country where Wrigley became a billionaire selling 5 cents per pack gum. It happens in this country. There is a, show that comes on the History Channel. Remember, we're talking about reframing the way that we think, thinking about the human potential, unlocking what's inside of you that needs to be released and shared with the world. I'm gonna encourage you to go to, sometimes it's on A&E and sometimes it's on the History Channel, and it basically is the people that built America. It's so powerful because you get a chance to see the ups and the downs and the twists and turns of fate that literally made the difference in people being small side hustle type people to people being multi-million and billionaires. But nothing can come if we don't launch, if we don't believe, if we don't get started. I know it to be true that there is no way for you to receive overflow without a bucket. You have to have a method, a mechanism, some type of business. How can a great multi-million dollar opportunity come to you if you're not even in the game? As we're journaling this week, I want you to begin writing down, if failure was not an option and if I was guaranteed to succeed, what are the 3 businesses that I would love to start? I believe your answer is there. It's been lying dormant and is only needed to be stirred so that it could finally burst up from the hard soil, that hard ground of our minds that's held us back from allowing that idea to birth. I believe it's there. And I believe that if we really go hard and really give it all we've got, we have an opportunity to do something great. There's one more thing that I'd like to share with you, and that's Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You can see this triangle here. It's really interesting, and I was able to look at this week and actually break down the age range that each need, according to Eric Erickson, each one applies to which age. So from the age of 0 to 12, your major concern is physiological needs like food, water, clothing, sleep. That's a big issue, right? That's the abiding thought in our mind. But by the time we get to 13 to 16, the thing that's important to us is safety, security, family, and stability. But what's interesting, what I found is from the age of 17 to 30, love and belonging becomes important. But then by the time you get to 30 to 50, the thing that's important here is confidence, achievement, respect, accomplishing things. And then when we get to this beautiful place, 50 to 90, we are all of a sudden literally entering into our golden years. These are the years where we're able to make the main thing the main thing. We're able to think about things that most people don't even have time to think about. Actually, believe it or not, at this age in life, there are solutions to problems that are within you, problems that the world doesn't even know how to solve, and you've actually got the solution. That's what's amazing about this moment in time that we're sharing together. During the next, I guess we have now, let's see here, a total of 48 more weeks. During the next 48 weeks, I'm going to challenge you to really start to explore the what ifs, not what if something negative, but I want you to explore the what ifs. What if I changed 2 little ways that I think? What if it actually worked? What could happen with my life? Now, As we're going through this transformation journey, I am also on a journey myself, and I'm getting an opportunity because I have friends that are getting older and family that are aging, and life throws different curveballs. And we'll talk about one of the secret ingredients to success in life, the hidden secret weapon of supernatural overflow and increase. And we'll dive into that on our next episode. So make sure to tune in to No Time to Waste so that we can share the secret weapon that will guarantee your success. It will make you literally unstoppable. Thanks for tuning in. And I'd like to take a moment to thank our sponsor and host, Care Michigan. Care Michigan is a medical case management company located in the city of Troy that specializes in working with individuals that have been severely injured in motor vehicle accidents. If you or anyone you know has been severely injured in a motor vehicle accident, please call Care Michigan at 833 696 2626 and let them know that you heard about them on the No Time to Waste podcast. Or you can visit their website at www.caremichigan.com. Thank you again. And I am so excited and I'm so proud of you for making the commitment to follow through on the initial decision to get started with an extraordinary transformation. This, my friend, is a demonstration of character. What is character? The ability to follow through on a decision long after the excitement of the moment has passed. Make it a great one. As you know, it's time to go. So let's go. Take care.